So in class, we focus on autonomy, mastery, and purpose. The idea of you directing your own academic process to learn things that you want to learn, to get better at them, to prepare you for the rest of your life. So this is the main thing we focus on. In each project, we have a core section in pre-production where you find something really good, primary source, people who've talked about it, secondary source, and then you find a training resource to train yourself on how to do something similar to that primary source. So you'll see that in both the SMART goals and our session projects that we do. Now, if I go over to an example here, what you're seeing on screen here is a primary source. In game design, I'm using Firewatch as an example. In film, I'm using Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and Hot Fuzz, two films from Edgar Wright. And in School of Rock, I'm using Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. So, why? Because there's elements about each one of these that I think is really cool. Now, what I do in my blog post is I write a little bit about why I chose the primary source. A secondary source is somebody explaining how the primary source got its mojo, how it worked really well to captivate me or an audience or something like that. In this case, I like the art of Firewatch. So the artist and her team who created Firewatch explains in a tutorial here, or not tutorial, presentation that's about a half hour long, how they created the art for Firewatch. So this would be a secondary source. Okay, somebody talking about how the primary source got good. So that's that. And I explain a little bit here about the person and why this is a good secondary source about the primary source. Now over in film, I have two primary sources, two film clips, and a secondary source is somebody explaining how Edgar Wright does visual comedy. So Every Frame of Painting explains that, and again, I write a little bit about each one of these things. So I picked two primary sources, two film clips, because I thought that was relevant because it's Edgar Wright who directed both of them, and then I find somebody who explains in a secondary source how both of those things work really well. And I found a training resource that explains how to do those things that I can then mimic, watch, learn from, and then try it out in my own work. And then lastly, in School of Rock, I have a primary source for Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. Why? It's got hookiness. It hooks you. It's got momentum in it that drives the song forward, and it's hard to get it out of your head. Secondary source is Holistic Songwriting. Does an analysis of what makes this work with the melodic line and so on and so forth. So I study this and write a few notes about this. Now, in my example here, I didn't write more notes, but I thought I did. So let's refresh this. Oh, I see. Hold on a second. We're live here. Ooh. No, I guess I didn't. So anyway, there should be a little bit more of an explanation here, kind of what Holistic Songwriting is talking about. Then I found a training resource from the same person and explaining how I can use some of these elements to get my melodies to have more of a hook and be more memorable. And in all of our resources, you write notes, which are timestamps back into a training resource. We've done that for a while, so I just wrote this as an example. You're taking notes inside the training resource because you want to remember that you have a resource, but you don't exactly remember all the details. So the timestamps you put in the training resources help you get back to that. And remember, your blog is searchable by any word. So that is a summarization of primary source, secondary source, and then your training resources that are related to that. All right, thanks for watching.